Hi folks, Russ Scala here. I'm here with my partner, Tony Smothers. Tony, thanks for doing this. What we want to talk about, folks, is the changing paradigm in heart disease. As you know, I've been studying heart disease for a good 30 years. Back in the day when I was a paramedic, responded to thousands of cardiac arrests. I've been in the best research labs in the country, talked to lipid scientists, and the whole treatment protocol is changing, and it's exciting, folks. People are getting educated, and the whole cholesterol hypothesis is sort of sliding to the side. And what we're going to look at and talk about today is endothelial dysfunction. Recently, we worked with DORIAN YATES, six-time Mr. Olympia, and DORIAN contacted us from Sweden, from Spain. He'd been to 4 doctors. He had a deep vein thrombosis. He had endothelial dysfunction. That's going to be the new buzzword. And we did a video on why so many bodybuilders are having heart attacks. And it's because of the endothelial dysfunction and because of the testosterone to estrogen ratio is damaging the endothelial lining. So what I have Tony here for is, I've known Tony, 10 years?
Just about. Yeah.
So you went through the evolution of mainstream medicine, and then as you got educated, you started to see, you know, how this could benefit you. Now, do you have new arteries around your heart?
Yes, I think I have grown, you know,
so
auxiliary.
No, I mean, did they put arteries around your heart?
Oh yeah, well I had the triple bypass.
Okay, so
yeah,
Tony,
yeah.
right, so Tony had a triple bypass, and in this situation, when Tony and I were discussing a treatment protocol for himself, a triple bypass can have something called restenosis, which means it can become blocked again. So what I wanted to do was focus on Tony's endothelial lining, his fibrinogen levels, right? And keep those arteries as dilated as we can so good oxygen gets to the muscle. And that's what I'm gonna sort of talk about today after Tony sort of walks through his evolution. We're gonna focus on endothelial dysfunction and what causes endothelial damage, what causes blockages, and I'll explain that, and I'll show you a book you could pick up that you could actually give your cardiologist. So Tony, walk the folks through like what, you know, your evolution, because your learning is what everybody's going to experience, because they go to their cardiologist and he says one thing and they're like, well, you know, I know I'm biochemically unique. I wonder if I should try nutrition or diet, or, you know, what did you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was a runner in high school and college, that kind of thing, always working out. And then my junior year of college, my dad died of a massive heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
He was only 43 years old. So toughest thing, of course, in my life I've ever been through, but it was a wake-up call for me to really pay attention to my health. So, you know, I was eating well. I continued to be a runner, even as I started my work. Kind of got into sales as a career, which had its stresses along the way. But I would go to, you know, my regular doc, do my regular checkups. And then one day, do an EKG in the office, and my doc goes, I don't like your resting EKG. Let's send you to some tests and a cardiologist. Next thing I know, they're like, you need a triple bypass.
Oh my goodness.
Happened that quick. I was 53 years old at that point, and a few years ago. But it was like, okay, but because I'd been working out for 15 years straight and lifting weights, and I was in good shape, so I went through the bypass surgery really well, recovered well, got back in the gym, had no symptoms leading into that, and really no symptoms after. But at about the 10-year mark, when we met, I was starting to have some of that restenosis and some shortness of breath. Some symptoms come back up.
Right.
Like, oh man. So I started going back to traditional medicine a little bit, and then I stepped outside to another doc, really before we met in South Florida, who had some protocols that might be helpful. And that's when I learned about calcification and what's going on there. So then we meet and you start explaining more about calcification and how I might bring that down. So,
and you're like, how does this guy know this and my cardiology doesn't?
It doesn't.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, and prior to that, and you brought it up around that same time, was cholesterol.
Right.
You know, I was on cholesterol medicine.
Right.
And then I started doing my own research and realized, well, wait a minute. So I'd always kind of questioned, I always kind of liked, you know, traditional with integrative a little bit, but I hadn't really dived completely in. And then as you started bringing up, no, calcification is, you know, it's very important in explaining the difference. So, you explained your protocol, and finally I went, you know what, I need to get on that. We need to run some tests. See
Right.
And since I've responded terrifically, shortness of breath is gone, which was impacting, my intimate side of life and other things. I'm a golfer, I'm a drummer, and still love working out, and it was starting to interfere a little bit. Now, we've been on this protocol for about a year, feel terrific, staying on it, and it's definitely not what traditional medicine is putting out there.
Right, so folks, exactly. Tony, it took, this guy's a friend of mine, but again, I don't want to act like the food Nazi or Jehovah's Witness at your door. He had to come to this program when he was ready, and I put the research in his hands. And folks, this is what we're talking about. Whether you had a bypass, a stent, or you have high calcium, I'm gonna walk you through basically what Tony went through. And we're not in a rush. We have to educate you to raise your doctor to a higher standard. We have to educate you to ask the right kind of lab work, okay? That's what we're gonna focus on. I got a couple of graphics here that visuals that I wanna help you with, and then we'll move to the next level. Thanks for sharing that, brother.
Yeah, and can I add one thing,
Sure.
Russ, is in talking to people in my situation and others, often as guys, number one, generally, we don't like going to the doc, we don't like addressing things, right? So I fell into that a little bit too. But also really our default is to kind of go back to traditional medicine. And you and I see that all the time with people. So looking at new things and outside of, you can still combine it, and as you always say, consult with your regular doc, but look at these other therapies and other protocols, and I just say really take a good look at it. Don't just go back to your standard way of care and looking at health.
Yeah, I mean, why were the athletes having heart blockages? Why were they, you know what I mean? There's something other than cholesterol going on, and that's what we want to talk about. So thanks for sharing. I know that's personal, but I think you're going to help a lot of people, man. I really do. Thanks, my man.
Thanks.
The time is now for you to take control of your health. Everybody and every body has a story. Let us find out yours today.